Every day there is some good news with the declining number of new cases, but is tempered by sadness and grief at the loss of more lives. Although the numbers are small, every single one is heartbreaking, and our condolences go to all the families and friends affected. While we may be adjusting our lives to a new normal, we will never get used to the deaths caused by COVID-19, and we continue to mourn their loss and reaffirm our desire to do everything we can to honour their memory. As of last night, 1,659 people have died in our state from COVID-19, and a further 534 in Northern Ireland. In total, 25,111 people in the Republic of Ireland have been diagnosed with the disease. In total, almost 350,000 tests have been carried out, more than 22,000 in the past week, of which 389 were positive, resulting in a positivity rate of 1.7%, and this rate continues to decline. Given these numbers, we can see that we're making real and measurable progress. When I spoke in the Dáil last week, we had 73 new cases recorded the night before. It was 47 last night. We had 268 people in hospital this time last week with COVID. That's now down to 165. We had 48 in ICU, now down to 36. And whereas 17 new deaths were reported last week, it was 3 last night. We are now nearing the end of phase 1 of our plan to reopen business and society. Cabinet will meet tomorrow morning to decide whether it's safe to move to phase 2, and this decision will be made on the basis of the available medical data and the expert advice from NEFIT, alongside reports from key government departments including health and business. As I've always said, we need to be confident that it is safe before making that move. I am concerned that this week many people were calling for us to accelerate things and jump ahead before we even had the data from the last few days. The data that tells us the impact that the phase 1 lifting of restrictions had on the spread of the disease. I believe it is better to adopt a slow and steady approach than to go too far, too fast and risk falling backwards. Our plan to reopen the country can be accelerated, but only if it's safe to do so. Given the trend of numbers, I'm confident that we will be able to proceed to phase 2 on Monday. If Cabinet approves this move tomorrow, it'll mean a further lifting of restrictions on Monday. The economy will continue to reopen, more people will go back to work, and we'll see more businesses resume trading, particularly in the retail sector. More outdoor sporting and fitness activities will be allowed, including team sports training in small groups, as long as social distancing can be maintained and there's no physical contact. We'll also be able to meet in small groups indoors as well as outdoors, travel up to 20 kilometres from home for exercise, and people who work alone or can effectively social distance will be allowed to return to their workplaces more frequently. Ceann Comhairle, I hope that as the world returns to a new normality, we will see international air travel resume in the first instance through air bridges with countries that have suppressed the virus to a similar extent as ours. With air bridges, we could lift travel requirements if people are flying to or from another country where the virus has been successfully suppressed. This, however, is some weeks away, and it's far too soon for anyone to book their holidays yet. But summer is not yet lost. Amórach, déimhí an rialtas cinú cé acu a rachamíd ai go céime dó, dar blan chun éireann a oscailt. Beg an cinú seo bunathe cóir laias na sanolaithe go bhfuil sé slán sa bhailte. Ní thógfa míad aon risca má tá aon bhail ann, agus impíimiid an bubble aon risca nach gá leis a cheachant. Ó seo amach tá súlagam go ggurfaimid go mór leis an lúfártaíocht do cnocamar le ling na míana sicáte, agus go nóbróimid le chéile chun éireann níos fearr a buint amach. Ní mór doing infrastructure sláinte feibli agus foláine a thógáil. A phreitniú a dhéanamh conas mar a tholáramíd cuaram do dhaoine éiste. An cur chuige tá a going madidir le tinnis san ionad oibre athrú. Cothraíocht oibre is saoil a ghlacu, taistil nach bhfuil gá leis a laidú agus meastar dimpleacht na dúra a cothú. Count Corla, last week I said I'd provide an update on the new proposals from the European Commission. The post-2020 multi-annual financial framework will total €1.85 trillion over 7 years and will include a completely new €750 billion allocation for what's being called Next Generation EU. These euros will be used to protect lives and livelihoods, repair the single market and build a lasting recovery across Europe. It will be funded through one-off Commission borrowing on the financial markets as an exceptional response to the unprecedented circumstances we now face. I welcome the broad thrust of last week's proposals and will work with colleagues in the European Council to reach early agreement on a substantial front-loaded recovery instrument. This will reinforce the three safety nets of up to €540 billion for citizens, businesses and countries that we've already agreed. Every EU member state has been affected by this emergency, some more so than others. We need to kick-start economic and social recovery and get funds flowing to sectors and regions that need them most. To overcome the new challenges arising from COVID-19, the EU budget must also deal with issues which were vital to Ireland before the crisis, including CAP, cohesion, research and innovation. And I believe we must use this opportunity to set Europe on the right path for the future, building a greener, fairer, more resilient, digital and sustainable union. In doing so, though, we must be honest with the Irish people. We are now net contributors to the EU budget. A bigger EU budget means us paying in more, as well as getting more out. However, the value of our membership is incalculable in terms of security, access to the single market, European citizenship, and the cost-sharing gains from joint projects and joint programmes. It is money well spent. Count Corla, in recent days, the world has watched in horror the events following the killing of George Floyd. It has prompted a palpable outpouring of emotion, spontaneous expressions of solidarity against the poison of racism. We've also seen genuine revulsion at the heavy-handed response in some instances towards peaceful protesters and journalists. And we've witnessed the absence of moral leadership or words of understanding, comfort or healing from whence they should have come. It is right to be angered by injustice. Racism too is a virus transmitted at an early age, perpetuated by prejudice, sustained by systems, often unrecognised by those whom it infects. Possible to counteract and correct for, but never easy to cure. The Ireland that I grew up in is a very different place to the one that we live in today. In recent decades, we've been enriched by racial diversity, people of colour who came here, and more born here. I believe we're fortunate to have a policing model that is based on consent, strict gun control, and an unarmed and highly professional police service of whom we can be proud, an Garda Síochána. However, we don't need to look across the Atlantic to find racism. We have many examples in our own country. Discrimination on the basis of skin colour is pernicious. Sometimes it's overt. Discrimination when it comes to getting a job or a promotion, or being treated less favourably by public authorities, including sometimes government officials. Sometimes it manifests itself in the form of hate speech online, bullying in school, name-calling in the streets, or even acts of violence. Sometimes it's almost innocent and unknowing, and all the more insidious. Little things, small but nonetheless othering. Being asked, where do you come from originally, because your skin or surname looks out of place. How often you go back to the country that your mother or father was born in. Being spoken to more slowly. Cultural and character assumptions made based on your appearance. Being made to feel just that little bit less Irish than everyone else. And sadly, this is the lived experience for many young people of colour growing up in Ireland today. We have come together as a country in this fight against COVID-19. So let us use that sense of solidarity and community so present in recent weeks to take on racism in our country too, and change the experiences of young people of colour in Ireland for the better. We can learn from the mistakes of other countries and make sure that we do not follow their path. or be subject to their fate. Finally, Count Corla, as deputies will be aware, the pandemic unemployment payment expires on the 8th of June. A government decision on its future will be made tomorrow morning, but I want to give these 3 assurances to everyone currently in receipt of the payment today. First of all, it will be extended for months, not weeks. Secondly, nobody who was working full-time before the pandemic will see their unemployment payment cut. It will stay at €350 a week for those who are working full-time prior to the pandemic hitting. Some people who were working part-time will see their payment reduced, but their weekly payment will still be more than they were earning on a weekly basis before the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Taoiseach.